Bernardo Silva has once again expressed his desire to play for FC Barcelona. Jorge Mendes, who is his agent, will act as the main guy between Barcelona and Man City to facilitate this transfer. And the same thing is going to go for Joao Cancelo. However, Barcelona do not prioritize his signing this summer. They want to have a defensive midfielder first and also a left winger. Then they will think about signing Bernardo Silva. Now, let's talk about this potential signing that Barcelona could make, because I think that times are different. And let me explain. Bernardo Silva is a 29-year-old Portuguese right winger. He can also play as a central midfielder. Sometimes we even see him play in defensive midfield roles with Man City. It's amazing what Bernardo Silva has been able to achieve. And if you look at his past 6 to 7 seasons, Bernardo Silva is looking at having one of his best seasons currently. He has 10 goals and 5 assists in 36 matches. He's already on track on beating his previous season with Manchester City, a season where they have won almost all the trophies and especially the Champions League. So clearly this guy is on form. And if you guys are not very well aware on how this player likes to play, he is exceptional with his ball control. He's very quick with his feet. He has agility, which allows him to function through tight spaces and go through many different defenders. This is something that Rafinha does lack. So from this point of view, Bernardo Silva would be an upgrade in terms of 1v1 attacking duels. He's also very precise in passing. He can find those little spaces in front of goal where he can pass it to either Erling Haaland, maybe Kevin De Bruyne, maybe Julian Alvarez. When there is a low block, Bernardo Silva is the answer. His vision and his creativity is also world class. Being able to spot those gaps between the center backs, it is amazing with his through passes, and creating goal scoring chances every 10 to 15 minutes is something that you cannot find almost nowhere in the world of football. And most importantly, he has very quick decision making, meaning it does not take him a long time to make a decision, whether he needs to make a through pass or pass the ball back, or he has to go through 1 to 2 defenders. He's able to make that decision as fast as possible. His split second decisions when he is under pressure, it's just amazing. And every team needs a player like Bernardo Silva. So I'm never going to say that Bernardo Silva is not Barcelona level. I'm never going to say that Bernardo Silva is also an average player. He is a world-class player, but in the context of Barcelona and in the situation that Barcelona is in, it's very much different than how it was about a year ago, meaning that Bernardo Silva is not really a necessity. And I'm not even trying to say this like in a way where I'm saying, you know, Barcelona's too good for Bernardo Silva now. Just look at us, right? We can win any team because we have been in tremendous form. I'm not trying to give off that impression. I'm saying this because Lamine Yamal exists. Like, he's a player on form. A year ago, Lamine Yamal did not really exist. Like, yes, we knew his name, but he is definitely not the player that we saw 1 year ago. Now we see a much different monster, I would even say. I understand why Xavi wanted Bernardo Silva at one point, but with the emergence of Lamine Yamal, things are different. And I believe that Barcelona, Deco, and Xavi Hernandez all want to bet on Lamine Yamal. And of course, every player needs a second option. Every team needs another player in every position, because maybe Lamine Yamal could eventually get injured. Maybe in one game he feels too fatigued and he doesn't want to play. Of course, it's important for us to always have a second option, but I would also place my bets on Rafinha, where he's not a 1v1 killer like Bernardo Silva, but he knows how to find those killer passes. His defensive work ethic is amazing, and he's willing to run into spaces when either Kubarsi or Christensen or Araujo makes those long balls in the air. Rafinha is an amazing player, and I would just keep that player to be as a second option for Lamine Yamal. Or maybe in one game we have Rafinha starting on the right wing with Lamine Yamal getting the rest for that day. I love the form that Rafinha is in, and I feel like in the situation that we are in now, Barcelona is okay on the right wing position. Ferran Torres can also play within those areas. And I think that the way that Barcelona is approaching this whole thing to prioritize the left wing position and the defensive midfield position, that is 100% correct. And when you ask me which should be our first position to prioritize in this summer, I would tell you the defensive midfield position. Once Barcelona do sign their defensive midfielder and their left winger, then maybe yes, we can have conversations about Bernardo Silva. And if he can come in from maybe for around 40 to 45 million euros, and yes, I don't know, if John Laporta thinks that they have the money, then go 100% for it. But as of now, I think that Barcelona have to prioritize signing a world-class left winger and a defensive midfielder if they want to be competitive next season. And so I do appreciate Bernardo's early efforts to move to Barcelona. He's doing something very similar to what Lewandowski, Cancelo, Koundé, and all of these other players did, right? They want to start fighting for that spot to go to Barcelona, but as of now, he is not a priority. Now, speaking about signing a world-class defensive midfielder, this is what's going to transition us to the next conversation. And I want to speak about Joshua Kimmich because there has been so many conversations, so many talks about this German midfielder. And so it says here, according to Sky Germany, that FC Bayern are prepared to sell Kimmich this summer if the right offer comes in. Kimmich is also not ruling out a move and is open to discussions. There are still no concrete talks for a contract renewal beyond 2025. Only 5 clubs are in consideration of Kimmich, which is Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Real Madrid, and FC Barcelona. Some of the mentioned 5 clubs have already contacted Joshua Kimmich, and I feel like one of the clubs that have already contacted Kimmich has been Xavi Hernandez. You and me both know, right? If you guys have been following this channel for the past 2 years, we know that Xavi Hernandez does have a great relationship with Kimmich, and so I can see why he would want to contact Kimmich to say maybe there could be a potential move in the summer. Now, part of the reason why Kimmich wants to move away from Bayern and why Bayern are willing to sell Kimmich at a good price is because of his high salary, also because of the emergence of Pavlovic, who is a player that is highly rated at Bayern, and Bayern Munich are also very determined to sign a number 6. And I know that it sounds crazy because we do view Kimmich as a number 6, but in the perspective of Bayern and in the perspective of many fans at Bayern, right? They think that Kimmich is not a number 6, and that is why Bayern Munich are saying we need to let go of Kimmich and we need to sign a real number 6. And they also do see Goretzka as a highly valued player at the club, and they're not going to let him go, which is what leads to Kimmich potentially being sold in the summer. And so there is a lot of tensions between Kimmich and his camp and Bayern Munich with the fans, because the club and also the fans don't see Kimmich as a 6. Kimmich went out publicly to the media saying that I am made for a number 6 role. I want to play as a number 6, putting pressure on Tuchel, putting pressure on Bayern. And that is why there is this split, right? This force of tension between these two parties. Many people have deemed to say that Kimmich does not recognize his own flaws because Kimmich supposedly has not been performing well as a number 6. This is the reason why we also see Kimmich sometimes play as a right back. It is because Tuchel just doesn't want to see him in the midfield. And even when he does play in the midfield, there were moments in the season where Kimmich was being placed as an 8, and Kimmich does not want to do that. Now, here's the thing. I'm also going to coincide with the fans and also with Bayern, because I honestly do not see Kimmich as a true number 6, a destroyer, someone who is able to intercept the ball, someone who is great at defending. His ball quality and his creativity showcases that he is much more of a number 8 than a 6, in my opinion. Because let's say, for example, Kimmich goes to Manchester City. There is no way Pep Guardiola is going to replace Rodri for Kimmich. That's not going to happen. What we are going to be seeing is Rodri going behind Kimmich, and Kimmich as the second highest central midfielder, with Kevin De Bruyne as the first highest one. If we go to Barcelona, Kimmich is a player that would replace Frankie de Jong. He would not be paired with Frankie de Jong because Kimmich is a player that needs to be placed with a true central defensive midfielder. But in Kimmich's perspective, he does not see it in that way, and that is the problem. Seeing a double pivot of Kimmich and Frankie is almost suicide, in my opinion. I would just tell everybody here, and I would tell Deco and Xavi, that Kimmich is simply the second option to Frankie de Jong, because if we look at these graphs, right, so let's look at Frankie and Kimmich, you can see that they're almost the exact same player. So why would you have those two players as our double pivot? As a matter of fact, Frankie de Jong succeeds Kimmich in almost everything else. He succeeds in progressive passes, key passes, forward passes, carrying the ball, defensive action, duels, everything. Frankie de Jong is a better version of Kimmich, and that's crazy to say, but the stats do back it up. And as we can see there on the defensive actions, the levels are extremely low between Frankie de Jong and Kimmich. You're gonna need somebody better in defensive actions than Frankie de Jong, which is why I also want to introduce Rodri, because that is the type of player Barcelona do need. I'm not saying that Rodri should be signed because I know that he's very expensive. We'll see what happens in the summer. We'll see how much money Barcelona have, but ideally Rodri would be the most ideal pairing for Frankie de Jong, not Kimmich. Or anybody within the same style that Rodri has, Barcelona should get, because if you look at Rodri, you can see that he almost touches everything else that Frankie de Jong does, and he even succeeds Kimmich and Frankie de Jong in defensive actions. And so can you imagine if you pair Rodri and Frankie de Jong in the midfield? That would be monumentally world class for any coach. And so let me know in the comment sections down below, what do you think about Barcelona signing Bernardo Silva? Should he come and reinforce the right wing position? And the same thing with Joshua Kimmich. Do you believe he is the answer towards us signing a true central defensive midfielder in the summer? Or do you see Barcelona signing somebody else? Let me know in the comment sections down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.